Your mind is not a prison, but you've made it one. You're not tired because you do too much. You're tired because you think too much. You rehearse failures, argue with ghosts, relive pain. But here's the truth. You are not your thoughts. Your mind is a tool. And it's time you remembered how to hold it, not drown in it. Stop overthinking. Start living. The mind is an extraordinary instrument. It can create dreams, solve impossible equations, invent stories, and help navigate the chaos of life. But when left unchecked, this same mind becomes your cage. Not because it is flawed, but because you've forgotten your role in the relationship. The mind was designed to serve you, not rule over you. And yet, most people today live entirely within the boundaries of their thoughts, enslaved by an endless stream of what-ifs, regrets, fears, comparisons, assumptions, and imagined outcomes. They confuse thinking with living, rumination with reflection, and activity with awareness. This is not intelligence. This is imprisonment. Overthinking doesn't mean you're wise or deep. It means you're stuck. A sword is a powerful tool, but only when wielded with control. Unattended, it cuts without purpose, without aim. The same is true of the mind. When it becomes the master, it will lead you into confusion, anxiety, and paralysis. You'll feel like you're drowning in your own thoughts, even while sitting in a quiet room. You'll wake up tired, not because your body lacks rest, but because your mind has been running without your permission. The weight of it becomes invisible until it begins to crush you. But here's the truth many never realize. You are not your mind. You are not your thoughts. You are the one who sees them, the observer, the awareness behind the noise. And the moment you remember this, even for a few seconds, you reclaim your power. Because the one who watches is free. The one who watches has choice. You do not need to kill the mind or silence it completely. That's not mastery. Mastery is knowing when to listen to it and when to ignore it, when to sharpen it and when to rest it. The mind should be like a warrior's blade, clean, sharp, and used with precision. But most people carry around a dull, rusted blade that swings wildly at every shadow. And then they wonder why they feel so exhausted, anxious, and defeated. To regain your life, you must reverse the relationship. You must return to the center of your awareness and remember that the mind is only one part of your experience, not the whole of it. Your breath is real. Your body is real. The sky above you, the ground beneath you, real. Thoughts, they come and go. They appear and vanish like smoke. Some helpful, many not. But you give them power the moment you believe they are you. Begin small. Notice the gap between you and your next thought. Don't chase it. Don't fight it. Just notice. You'll begin to see how often the mind repeats, replays, resists. How it spins stories that never happened and fears that never arrive. You'll also begin to see the silence underneath it all, the calm, the place where peace already lives, untouched by worry or noise. From that space you begin to see clearly. You begin to choose. And here is where your power returns, when the mind becomes a tool in your hands, not a master on your back. You use it to build, create, understand, solve. You use it with intention, and then you let it go. You live with your mind, not in it. That is the shift. That is the path out of mental slavery and into mental sovereignty. You don't need more answers. You need more awareness, and from awareness, clarity arises naturally. The one who watches the mind will always be greater than the mind itself. So stop feeding the noise. Stop identifying with every passing thought. And above all, stop letting the mind define who you are. It is only one voice among many, and it is only powerful when you forget that you are the one listening. The mind is a servant, a brilliant one, but only when you remember you are the master. Overthinking thrives not because the mind is overactive, but because awareness is underdeveloped. Most people are not suffering from too many thoughts. They're suffering from being unconscious of their thinking process. They're tangled in it, immersed in it, and controlled by it without realizing it. The result is a constant state of inner friction, anxiety, indecision, and mental exhaustion. The real path out is not through adding more thoughts, more strategies, more logic. The path out begins with awareness. And awareness always comes before analysis. There is a quiet power in simply observing. Before you try to fix, solve, or figure something out, try to witness it. Not with judgment, not with panic. Just look. Most people hear a thought and immediately react. A negative memory surfaces and their emotions spiral. A self-critical voice appears and they obey it like it's truth. But when you insert a small gap, when you pause and observe instead of reacting, you begin to create space. And in that space, everything begins to change. This space is the foundation of freedom. Without it, your mind is like a mirror glued to your face. You can't see anything clearly because you're too close. But with awareness, you take a step back. You begin to see thoughts as patterns, not prophecies. You begin to hear your inner narrative as a voice, not a verdict. That step back is where power lives, not power over others, but power over your own experience. Awareness is not about controlling every thought. That's impossible. It's about recognizing that you are not the thought. You are the witness of it. When you hear yourself say, "I'm not good enough," awareness allows you to pause and say, "Interesting. That thought just appeared." No judgment, no suppression, just observation. And that single moment of detachment weakens the grip the thought has over you. When you're constantly analyzing, trying to solve every mental knot, you get lost in the web. But when you bring awareness to the pattern itself, how often your mind loops, how often it predicts disaster, how it never fully settles, you start to see through the illusion. You realize that the mind loves repetition. It chews on the same fears, regrets, and fantasies over and over. Not because they're meaningful, but because they're familiar. The mind loves what is familiar, even if it hurts, but awareness doesn't care about familiarity. Awareness brings light. It exposes the pattern. It allows you to see, this is the same loop again. And once you see the loop clearly, it starts to lose momentum. You stop feeding it. You stop giving it the fuel of belief and attention. That's not avoidance. That's clarity. Analysis without awareness is like swinging a sword in the dark. You may have strength, but you lack precision. You end up cutting what doesn't need to be cut, chasing thoughts that don't matter, and exhausting yourself over what was never real in the first place. Awareness turns on the light. It shows you the terrain of your inner world. It helps you navigate, not by fighting everything, but by understanding it. This understanding leads to mastery. Because once you truly see the thought as just a thought, you are no longer possessed by it. It passes through like a cloud in the sky. You don't need to chase it, fix it, or fight it. You simply return to the present moment, to your breath, to your senses, to now. And here's the paradox: the more aware you become, the less you need to analyze. Insight arises naturally. Clarity emerges without force. The right decision becomes obvious, not because you thought about it for hours, but because you were present enough to recognize what matters. This is the power of awareness. It reveals the truth without mental warfare. Overthinking is loud chaotic, urgent. Awareness is quiet, calm, and grounded. One takes you into panic, the other brings you home. So the question is not, how do I stop overthinking? The question is, can I become deeply aware of my thinking process? Because once you do, overthinking loses its teeth. It becomes background noise, harmless, temporary. You don't need to be fearless to be free. You just need to stop mistaking thoughts for facts. You need to stop assuming every voice in your head is yours or that it knows what's best for you. You need to wake up to the difference between mental noise and inner knowing. That difference is only revealed through awareness. So before you get lost in another spiral of doubt, pause, breathe, become still. Don't look for an answer. Look at what is. Observe without judgment. Let your awareness grow stronger than your analysis. Because clarity doesn't come from thinking harder. It comes from seeing deeper. You've been taught to trust your thoughts. You've been told that thinking is the way to solve every problem, make every decision, and understand the world. But no one ever taught you to question the origin, intention, or truth of those thoughts. And so, like most people, you live trapped in a constant storm of internal dialogue, believing that every thought is meaningful, every fear is a warning, and every judgment is a fact. But this is not clarity. This is delusion. The most powerful truth you can awaken to is this: your thoughts are not the truth. They are not reality. They are not you. A thought is simply a mental event. It's a flash of electrical activity shaped by memory, emotion, bias, and habit. It doesn't matter how strong it feels or how convincing it sounds. On its own, a thought has no weight until you decide to believe in it. And that's the root of suffering: unconscious belief. When you automatically accept every thought as fact, you hand over your power. You become a puppet to an invisible narrator that is often anxious, self-critical, negative, or afraid. Think about how many thoughts you have every day that come and go without intention. I'm not good enough. What if this fails? They're probably judging me. I always mess this up. These thoughts appear not because they're true, but because your mind has been conditioned to protect you through worry, comparison, and prediction. The mind is a survival tool designed to prepare for danger, even imagined ones. But most of the dangers you face today are not physical. They are emotional, social, or psychological, and your mind reacts to them as if they're life or death. But here's the shift. Just because a thought feels urgent or important doesn't mean it's valid. Emotion is not evidence. Fear is not prophecy. And repetition is not proof. Many of your thoughts are echoes, residues of past experiences, trauma, or patterns inherited from others. You may think you're thinking for yourself, but often you're just recycling old scripts. Scripts written by fear, by shame, by a culture that profits from your insecurity. Freedom begins when you start to question. Not with aggression, not with resistance, but with curiosity. The next time your mind tells you you're not good enough, pause and ask, according to who? Who is speaking? Is it truth? Or is it an old voice dressed up in urgency? Is it a helpful guide? Or is it the wounded inner critic repeating what it heard years ago? This kind of inquiry breaks the automatic link between thought and an identity. It reminds you that you are the listener, not the voice. You are the sky, not the passing cloud. And when you learn to witness a thought without attaching to it, something powerful happens. It passes, it dissolves, it loses its grip. Not because you fought it, but because you stopped feeding it. This is the secret most people never discover. You don't need to silence the mind. You just need to stop worshipping it. You've been told your mind is your greatest asset. That's only half true. The mind is a tool, sharp, brilliant, capable of wonders, but also dangerous when used without wisdom. A knife can prepare a meal or take a life. The difference is in the hand that holds it. In the same way, your mind can be used to create clarity or chaos. The choice begins when you learn that your thoughts are suggestions, not commands. When a thought arises that says, "You'll never succeed," you don't need to argue with it or prove it wrong. You only need to observe it. There is the thought again, like watching a bird fly across the sky. You don't try to catch it. You don't analyze its feathers. You just see it. And you remain still. That stillness is your power. That detachment is your liberation. What happens when you no longer identify with every thought? Peace. What happens when you stop reacting to every mental impulse? Presence. What happens when you realize your thoughts are not you? Control. You stop being dragged around by fear, self-doubt, and negativity. You begin to choose what thoughts deserve your attention and what thoughts deserve silence. You become the master, not the servant, of your mind. This doesn't mean you reject thinking. It means you elevate your awareness above it. Thoughts are useful. They help you plan, create, reflect. But they are meant to be used, not obeyed. Wisdom is knowing when to think and when to let go of thought entirely, when to act and when to simply be, when to trust the space between thoughts more than the thoughts themselves. And that space, the silence underneath the noise, is where your true self lives, not in the content of your mind, but in the consciousness behind it. That consciousness is not anxious. It's not afraid. It doesn't need to prove anything. It just is. And when you rest there, even for a few moments, the whole storm of overthinking begins to dissolve. You return to the present, to your body, to the breath, to reality as it is, not as the mind imagines it. So let this truth sink deep into your being. Your thoughts are not the truth. They are waves. You are the ocean. They are shadows. You are the light. Let them come, let them go, and remain rooted in the awareness that watches without fear, without judgment, without attachment. That is your power. That is your freedom. That is the way forward. Stillness is not the absence of activity. It is the presence of power. In a world addicted to noise, speed, and stimulation, stillness feels uncomfortable, even threatening. People run from silence as if something dangerous lies there, and it does. The truth of who you are beneath your roles, your masks, your thoughts. That's why the mind resists stillness. It's afraid of what it might find. But what it doesn't understand is this: stillness is not where you lose control. It's where you gain it. In the stillness, everything you've been running from comes into view. Your doubts, your fears, your deepest desires, they rise like waves. And for the first time, there's nowhere to hide. And that's exactly why most people never train the discipline of stillness. They mistake discomfort for danger. They think, if I stop moving, I'll fall apart. If I slow down, I'll be left behind. But this is a lie whispered by a restless mind. Movement without awareness is not progress. It's distraction. We have been conditioned to believe that doing equals worth, that business equals success. But there is a hidden cost to constant motion. You forget how to be. And the one who forgets how to be is easily controlled by fear, by stress, by the next crisis or distraction. You lose your center. You become reactive, always trying to fix, respond, achieve, without ever asking, what am I really serving? True strength is not measured by how much you can carry, but by how deeply you can stand still in the center of your being while the world spins around you. Stillness is not a luxury, it is not passive, it is not weak. It is a discipline, a fire you choose to enter even when it burns. It requires courage to stop, to turn inward, to listen to the silence you've spent years avoiding. But in that silence, you find the one thing the outer world cannot offer: clarity. In stillness, you begin to see the difference between reaction and response. Reaction is fast, unconscious, driven by emotion. Response is slow, grounded, born from awareness. Reaction is the child of fear. Response is the child of wisdom. And without stillness, there is no space between stimulus and action, just a chain of impulses dragging you through life. But when you train stillness like a muscle, you create that space. You begin to see clearly before you speak, move, or decide. That space is where your power lives. Stillness reveals what noise hides. It unmasks your addictions to urgency, validation, control. You start to notice how often you reach for your phone, scroll for answers, distract yourself with movement because being with yourself feels too raw. You notice how uncomfortable you are doing nothing, and that discomfort is your teacher. It's not a sign to move, it's a signal to stay, because the part of you that cannot sit in silence is the part of you that needs healing most. The discipline of stillness doesn't mean you remove yourself from life. It means you return to it more fully. Stillness is not about quitting the world. It's about showing up with presence, with intention, with inner alignment. The world doesn't need more noise. It needs more people who can walk into chaos without becoming chaotic. People who can listen before they speak. People who can choose their response instead of reacting from pain. If you can sit still, truly still, for 5 minutes with no phone, no music, no distraction, just breath and awareness, you will meet yourself, and what you find may scare you. The mind will shout, the body will fidget, emotions may rise, but this is the path. You are not trying to escape the discomfort. You are learning to sit with it, to be the still mountain beneath the storm, to hold your ground while the winds howl, and in that holding, something inside you transforms. Discipline is not just about pushing harder or achieving more. It is about creating a foundation so strong, the chaos of life cannot shake it. And stillness is that foundation. It's what allows you to listen to life instead of shouting over it. It's what lets you hear your intuition instead of your insecurity. It's what helps you feel your truth, not just think it. You don't need to retreat to the mountains to find stillness. You carry it with you, in your breath, in the pause between thoughts, in the quiet presence you bring to every action. Stillness is available in every moment, but it must be chosen. Not once, but again and again until it becomes your default, not your escape. Train it like you train your body. Begin small, 1 breath, 1 minute, 1 moment of choosing not to react, not to distract, not to run. The world will keep spinning. Let it. Your peace does not depend on its pace. It depends on your center. And when you truly master stillness, you carry it everywhere. In conversations, in conflict, in pressure, in decision. It becomes your hidden strength, your calm in the storm, your invisible power. Because the one who is still cannot be manipulated, cannot be provoked, cannot be broken. The one who is still sees clearly, acts wisely, and walks in peace, while others burn out chasing noise. Stillness is not absence. It is presence. It is the quiet fire that burns away illusion and leaves only truth behind. Train it. Choose it. Become it. Because in a world that races blindly forward, the one who can stand still will see the farthest.